Mali until the year 2030. Well, that's a story that we shall delve deeper into in just a bit. But once again, good morning, Uganda. And I'd like to be the Pope. That's not my statement, though. It's by President Trump. Good morning, Robert.
A lovely morning to you, Julie. Happy Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day to you, too. Weren't you shocked when I said that I'd like to be the Pope?
Trump is Trump. And very active.
Yes.
On social media platforms.
He knows how to use his socials.
He knows how to use. And of course, some statements don't come as a surprise to Trump.
Well, just before you get emotional about it, this he said as a joke, and he said it after he was asked who he expected to be the next Pope, just in case he came from the United States of America. And he joked about it and said, I'd like to be the Pope. That was Trump for you. But once again, good morning, Robert. Thank you so much for being here. Do you intentionally celebrate Labor Day?
First, I'm always at work because it's a public holiday. So I'm always at work here trying to ensure that we fulfill our mandate as a national broadcaster to keep Ugandans very informed of what is happening. But why I celebrate Labor Day? Very importantly, and Ugandans should know, that this is not just a day, but it's a day that costed lives of many workers. Now, it all goes back to the 19th century, where we saw over 400,000 workers in America who gathered in Chicago. Now, these were calling because they were working longer hours. Now, they were protesting these hours and saying we should be working 8 hours a day. Now, it was a peaceful protest or demonstration, but later things didn't go well. It became violent. And at the end of that day, a number of these were killed by police officers. So since then, because that was in 1886 in Chicago, United States of America. Now, these 400,000 that hit the streets in Chicago said enough is enough. We cannot work these so many hours. At least let them be 8 hours. Now, their death is victory today, that many of us in the formal sector work 8 hours a day. If you're going to work beyond 8 hours, then you have to be paid over time. So I feel this goes back to my mind, looking at these people who knew if they didn't, maybe would be working so many hours.
Now that brings the question and the conversation of minimum wage in Uganda. It's one that hasn't been dealt with. It's one that hasn't been concluded. What's your perspective? I really, really hope and pray that the president gets to address it, but what's your perspective?
Minimum wage is quite tricky because when it came to the floor of Parliament, Parliament passed it, but His Excellency did not assent to it. He had reasons he gave. One of them was that this would scare investors. It would be less productive to a country. So it was shelved. But then later, we see civil society organizations, NGOs, workers come and say, no, we need a minimum wage as a country. Now, this time they are looking at sector by sector, not to have a general minimum wage, but to say if, for example, those in the media, this is the least you can pay. You don't pay them below. Those in the informal sector, say housemaids, if you're to employ a housemaid, you don't pay a housemaid below this amount. So they want to look at sector by sector, not to have a universal minimum wage, but have a sectorial approach to minimum wage. And I think, yes, if we say those working in industries, because much as we cherish investors, because they're enabling us to reduce on importation and improve on exportation.
And also improve employment rates.
And also improve employment rates. But still, I'm hesitant on these two. One, when we talk about investors reducing what we import and improve what we export, I want to tell you one thing I've seen so much produced in Uganda that a Ugandan cannot buy and still goes for what is imported. I believe many agree with me that there is so much that is manufactured here, but still we go for what is imported in here because what is manufactured here is expensive. Investors will tell you factors of production, electricity, what. Now also when you go to employment, the question is how many people being employed are in meaningful employment? When you have young women in their youthful age that come and a day they are going home with 3,000. Now that includes transport. If you go to some of these industrial parks, I don't want to mention specific, you will see these, the casual workers. Not to say that we not have those at some ranks that are getting meaningful employment, but also, I must say, the investors we have here, the other problem I do have, how many of these that come, do we have jobs that are ring-fenced? That if you're to invest in Uganda, because you don't have a law against profit repatriation, at least as you're siphoning us, you also become like a bed bag. We siphon you. So that you don't, because it's in Uganda where someone, not to say all investors are doing this, but someone will come here, set up a factory, make money, getting cheap labor, because one of the attractors to investors is cheap labor. Now, cheap labor that has no minimum wage, then you get the money, then you fly back.
Fly back to your country.
And do better things. So these are also certain things that I think if you brought them to table as workers, and on this important day of workers, we should also look at the plight of workers working in these industries we cherish. I hope we're interested in ourselves in that.
Yes,
not to just have a blanket statement that job creation, job creation. What are the circumstances? Many of these don't have contracts. An Asian wakes up and says, don't come back tomorrow, go, you. And it is done and dusted.
And indeed, you're speaking to many who have gone through the experience of, like you've mentioned, working with the Asians. But posing the question to you, do you intentionally celebrate Labor Day? Now, moving on from that, Robert, take us away with what's on the local scene.
I'll, of course, definitely start with the Labor Day celebrations, where the people in Karamoja are excited to host the first ever National Labor Day celebrations in their sub-region since independence. The celebrations will be held at Nakale Playground, Lorekyo Sub-County, Nakapiripirit District. All is set for the Labor Day celebrations in Nakapiripirit District. President Yoweri Museveni is expected to be the chief guest. The Vice President, Jessica Alupo, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, among other dignitaries, are expected to grace the occasion. Moving on, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation has moved to galvanize partnership with its United Kingdom counterpart, British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC. Of importance is moving with changing trends in the media industry, which both parties want practitioners to come to speed with. This came at a light during the visit of during a visit to UBC by the British High Commissioner to Uganda, Lisa Lesen, who saw the corporation's capacity in promoting press freedom through embracing editorial independence. The Ministry of Works and Transport has expressed concern over the continued informal street trading in Kampala and the metropolitan area, saying it contributes to traffic congestion and poses a public health risk. This was revealed during an interministerial committee meeting on the progress of the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Urban Development Program, chaired by the Minister of Works and Transport, General Katumba Wamala, along with other ministers and stakeholders. And finally, from the local scene, at least 4 aspirants, including Nathan Nandala Mafabi, who is serving as the party Secretary General, picked the nomination forms for FDC Party's 2026 presidential flag bearer. The event has been at the FDC headquarters in Najjanankumbi. The 4 candidates who have officially entered the race include Masiko Dan, an FDC cadre, Secretary General Nandala Mafabi, Usman Semogerere, and Gerard Malinga. The FDC presidential candidate nomination exercise is scheduled to run till Friday, May the 2nd. The schedule has been adjusted to accommodate today, the 1st of May, which is a public holiday. Mafabi's nomination forms were picked by the Soroti City West Member of Parliament, Jonathan Eburu, in beating drums for his man, hailed him as a tried and tested leader. Dan Masco, in his promise, revealed he comes with a visionary target to rebrand the party. The Forum for FDC Change Electoral Commission reiterated that the position of the party presidential flag bearer remains eligible to all members of the party. And with that, we come to the end of our local stories.
All right, thank you, Robert, for that. Now let's have a look at what is on the foreign scene. And on the foreign scene, the U.S. has signed a deal with the Ukraine on the joint exploitation of its energy and mineral resources after months of tense negotiations. Now, the two countries have agreed to establish a reconstruction investment fund to spur Ukraine's economic recovery from its war with Russia. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said it showed both sides were committed to lasting peace and prosperity in Ukraine. For Kyiv, the deal is seen as essential to accessing U.S. military aid. And Ukraine is believed to have vast reserves of critical minerals like graphite, titanium, and lithium. They are highly sought after because of their use in renewable energy and military applications, as well as industrial infrastructure. The agreement comes amid a U.S. trade war with China, where 90% of the world's current rare earth stocks are sourced. And according to the statement from the U.S. Treasury on Wednesday afternoon, the newly created U.S.-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund recognizes the significant financial and material support the U.S. has given Ukraine since Russia invaded in February 2022. Now moving on, Pakistan's Army Chief General Asim Munir is known for seeking the spotlight. Yet in recent weeks, it has found him not only in Pakistan, but across the border in India and in diplomatic capitals far beyond. His remarks on Kashmir, made just days before a militant attack in Indian-administered Kashmir, which killed 26 people, have reignited a debate over Pakistan's military stance and its role in rising regional tensions. Kashmir, which India and Pakistan claim in full but administer only in part, has been a flashpoint between the countries since they were partitioned in 1947. Though not directly linked to the violence, General Munir's words have been dissected and interpreted as a shift towards a more confrontational tone, both from him and the institution he leads. He is viewed as the most powerful man in Pakistan, where the military has long been blamed for interfering in politics, installing and removing governments. As tensions with India rise again, he is being watched and as the central figure in a volatile nuclear army rivalry. So who is General Munir and what drives him? General Munir, who is in his late 50s, is the son of a school principal and religious scholar. He joined the army through the Officers Training School in Mangla in 1986, earning the prestigious Sword of Honor given to the best-performing cadet. He was then commissioned in the 23rd Frontier Force Regiment. Now coming to Africa, Mali's military leader, General Assimi Goïta, has won the backing of key political allies to be declared president for the next 5 years. The 41-year-old, who has seized power twice, was named transitional president after his last coup in 2021. And at that time, he promised to hold elections the following year, but has since reneged in a blow to efforts to restore multi-party rule in the West African state. Now, a national conference organized by the regime but boycotted by leading opposition parties has now recommended naming General Goïta president until the year 2030. And he has not yet commented on the recommendation, but the conference was seen as an attempt to legitimize his bid to remain in power. Over the weekend, an opposition leader, Mohamed Salia Touré, told the AFP news agency that suppressing the multi-party system would be a historic error. And on Wednesday, Amnesty International said it denounced what it described as a proposal to dissolve all political parties in Mali. Now, the rights group's Sahel researcher Osman Diallo said he was alarmed by the proposition and that such a move would be a flagrant attack on the rights of freedom of expression and association. It is unclear if the conference proposes to dissolve all political parties or only those that fail to comply with certain requirements. And that's it from the foreign scene. But Robert, take us away with what's on the press.
Allow me to start with the New Vision this morning. And looking at the New Vision this morning, we have State House directives target district officials. Now surveyors, land boards face probe. That is by State House. President Museveni meets Ethiopia Orthodox leader. Pictorial there, very lovely picture with the president and the Orthodox Ethiopian leader. Now also there is a column there, Ask URA Commissioner General. Now yes, there the New Vision brings you that. And still we see in case you can supply, there are over 110 tenderers there, so you can check. Then Labor Day special, the New Vision has something for a worker there for the workers, so you can get to know what is in Labor Day special. I quickly move to the Daily Monitor this morning, and looking at the Daily Monitor this morning, the way out of joblessness. Now they give you some statistics here regarding unemployment crisis hits new heights. Well, the statistics are there in terms of how we've gotten there. It comes to unemployment, there is 82% in 8.2 million. That is in regions, but also there are percentages there where there's a 38%. Now we have Nambi accuses MP Narukola, lawyer of witness tampering. This is going to be an interesting one. It was interesting yesterday in court, and we see both Lumumba take on Mukula for NRM seat. Politics is closing in, and the Lizard, as usual, has something to say regarding affairs there. But you can only get more of these stories when you have the Daily Monitor with you. Let me quickly move to Kenya. The Daily Nation, where Ruto's finance bill puzzle. What is in that? Well, so much. Labor pain as workers pay cut by many levies. Now, that means many taxes that the workers' salaries go through. And of course, they give you big win for protesters over hooded plain clothes police. What is the win that they secured there? Well, the Daily Nation has that for you. Quickly, allow me to go to the Citizens, that is in Tanzania, where how smartphone use reflects state of mental health. And top scholars speak out against meddling at African varsities. Still in the Citizens, we see Chandema wants Dar es Salaam police chief dismissed over brutal crackdown. And trade unions demand bold reforms for workers in the private sector. Well, these and more stories in the print media this morning, but you can get the details when you acquire one.
Thank you, Robert. Robert, do you know a term called brain rot? Brain rot.
Not very conversant.
Well, it's brain rotting from a lot of smartphone use and social media indulgence. Yeah, and it's quite common in this generation, which is a term commonly used by Gen Zs and Gen Alphas.
I just ask myself, you know, were you there when you didn't have phones?
Phones, no. Really, I've grown up with a phone, but you know, the first phones that, I don't know what generation before, right before the smartphones. Yeah, at least the first phone I got to experience was a mobile phone during the times of Mango. You used the UTL with the being called Mango at that time.
Oh, yeah. Now you're the people who didn't see that life. Personally, I remember I was in primary.
Yeah.
No, was I in primary? Yes. Somewhere, primary or either senior one, when phones came in.
Okay.
And I don't know, but I remember it was MTN that came in first, if my memory serves me right.
Wasn't it
Then,
Airtel with a Celltel?
Celltel came
at the
in.
time?
Still, because I wasn't mature enough,
Yeah.
I can't say that I have the statistics, but at least I have some memories now. when phones came in here, we didn't have smartphones.
Yes, definitely.
They are not smartphones. Even those that came with vibration came later. So we first had that awkward ringtone. And one of them was a Sony Ericsson. That was as big as from here to here. Now, those days we had men who would put their panties up here.
Above the belly button.
And that phone had a cover and had a way you, like a pistol, you can hook on your pocket.
Yeah.
So this person would make sure it is visible wherever they are. And one time, the first time to witness this, you were at a burial. And you know burials in the village. And the priest is also, and this phone. I want to tell you, everyone had to keep quiet.
Because of the phone. Oh no.
Now this rich person in the village waits for it to make a lot of noise, then picks it. Hello, Dimukuzika, and the entire, you're all then he puts it back and walks majestically.
Well,
now,
it looks like a brain rot.
Now, if you bring that phone today, we'll just step on the thing and move away.
Yes.
It will look useless.
That's very true.
That is how the journey was and how interesting it was.
Oh, well, quite interesting to look at what life back in the day looked like. But as you celebrate your Labor Day, I do continue to ask you, do you intentionally celebrate and recognize Labor Day? And on that note, do enjoy Queen Amino with Azawi. Good morning, Uganda.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Because they're enabling us to reduce on importation and improve on exportation.
And also improve employment rates.
And also improve employment rates. But still, I'm hesitant on these two. One, when we talk about investors reducing what we import and improve what we export, I want to tell you one thing I've seen so much produced in Uganda that a Ugandan cannot buy, and still goes for what is imported. I believe many agree with me that there is so much that is manufactured here, but still we go for what is imported in here because what is manufactured here is expensive. Investors will tell you factors of production, electricity, what. Now also when you go to employment, the question is, how many people being employed are in meaningful employment? When you have young women in their youthful age that come and a day they are going home with 3,000. Now that includes transport. If you go to some of these industrial parks, I don't want to mention specific, you will see these, the casual workers. Not to say that we not have those at some ranks that are getting meaningful employment, but also, I must say, the investors we have here, the other problem I do have, how many of these that come, do we have jobs that are ring-fenced? That if you're to invest in Uganda, because you don't have a law against profit repatriation, at least as you're siphoning us, you also become like a bed bag. We siphon you. So that you don't, because it's in Uganda where someone, not to say all investors are doing this, but someone will come here, set up a factory, make money, getting cheap labor, because one of the attractors to investors is cheap labor. Now, cheap labor that has no minimum wage, then you get the money, then you fly back.
Fly back to your country.
And do better things. So these are also certain things that I think if you brought them to table as workers, and on this important day of workers, we should also look at the plight of workers working in these industries we cherish. I hope we're interested ourselves in that.
Yes,
not to just have a blanket statement that job creation, job creation. What are the circumstances? Many of these don't have contracts. An Asian wakes up and says, don't come back tomorrow, go, you. And it is done and dusted.
And indeed, you're speaking to many who have gone through the experience of, like you've mentioned, working with the Asians. But posing the question to you, do you intentionally celebrate Labor Day? Now, moving on from that, Robert, take us away with what's on the local scene.
I'll, of course, definitely start with the Labor Day celebrations, where the people in Karamoja are excited to host the first ever National Labor Day celebrations in their sub-region since independence. The celebrations will be held at Nakale Playground, Lorekyo Sub-County, Nakapiripirit District. All is set for the Labour Day celebrations in Nakapiripit district. President Yoweri Museveni is expected to be the chief guest. The Vice President, Jessica Alupo, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, among other dignitaries, are expected to grace the occasion. Moving on, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation has moved to galvanize partnership with its United Kingdom counterpart, British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC. Of importance is moving with changing trends in the media industry, which both parties want practitioners to come to speed with. This came at a light during the visit of during a visit to UBC by the British High Commissioner to Uganda, Lisa Lessen, who saw the corporation's capacity in promoting press freedom through embracing editorial independence. The Ministry of Works and Transport has expressed concern over the continued informal street trading in Kampala and the metropolitan area, saying it contributes to traffic congestion and poses a public health risk. This was revealed during an interministerial committee meeting on the progress of the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Urban Development Program, chaired by the Minister of Works and Transport, General Katumba Wamala, along with other ministers and stakeholders. And finally,
the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000, or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Buza Commissioner, enhancing tax education and bringing it closer to the taxpayers. Many Ugandans have questions about the taxes they pay to URA.
When we come at revenue, they tell us to clear Chitenge at 10,000. And when we are selling Chitenge, we sell it at 17. So we don't know whether we are working or not.
Understanding your tax obligations can help you grow your business and avoid unnecessary losses. Now, you can get direct answers. Send your tax-related questions via WhatsApp or SMS to 0790-141-887, and the Commissioner General of URA, John Musinguzi, will personally address them. Tune in to UBC News Tonight every Monday and Wednesday for expert insights and clear explanations. Buza Commissioner.
Good morning once again, Uganda. Thank you so much for still choosing UBC TV here to inspire you, and a happy Labor Day to you as you sip on that coffee. As for you who's already in Nakapiripirit, thank you so much for being a part of the celebrations. Uganda is celebrating its Labor Day from Nakapiripirit, and like I mentioned earlier on, the guest of honor is His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. In a little while later, we shall be taking you to the celebrations over there because the team is already on ground. But in the meantime, let us talk matters, roads and your money. at that, as well as your hard-earned work and property. Now, the Ministry of Works says that residents are to blame for the delayed KCCA road works, and that the refusal by residents to surrender road reserves in areas where tarmacking of roads is planned under the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area. Now, Honorable Minsa Kabanda was noted saying that the KCCA is not given money, and yet the landlords do ask for the compensation. Yet again, KCCA continues to seek them to give up to hand in their road reserves so that road constructions can go on in order to develop these areas and development to take place altogether in Uganda. So now that's a conversation we are delving deep into, and if you want to be a part of it, share your opinion via WhatsApp to 0709602592. Good morning, Robert, once again.
Oh, it is a lovely day because we are celebrating workers, looking at our achievements, our journey as far as pushing for our rights, better working conditions. I would call it decent work places. And when we talk about road construction, first I want to wish all people involved in the road sector, most of the informal workers, those that you see digging trenches, lifting stones and all that, happy Labor Day to you. Now, when I heard the minister talk about this, first I want us to know that these are doing nothing wrong. When I say nothing wrong,
Of the two, who's not doing anything wrong?
the residents were accusing. There is nothing illegal they are doing. However, what may be legally right may not be morally right. Because if a road is going to pass in our community and they need some land, some piece of land, actually the word is not even road reserve, because a road reserve, you have no right over it. I think even when you're constructing benefits, they'll tell you from the road that distance. And any government project, they'll just erase as long as you're in the road reserve. Though sometimes due to political influence, we did dull here and there, but the truth is, these are not road reserves, because road reserves are not a property of you. And even if you bought a plot of land, you will know that from the main road to this distance, it is a reserve. Though some people ignorantly
Go on to construct.
Or intentionally.
Intentionally, because I've seen people who adamantly.
But sometimes I've seen it ignorantly. One time I had a neighbor at my parents' place who used to put eucalyptus tree. And I would tell him, this is a road reserve. But it took him so long to understand. Because he would say, I was buying land when I bring my... So there are those that do it ignorantly, and there are those that do it intentionally. Now, things that are legally right, I want to repeat, morally and for the benefit of society, sometimes may be wrong. Because if you are going to have a road, and you're told to give us about 6 or 15 something of your land for this project to go through, and you're hesitant, there's nothing wrong you're doing in the law. But for sure, morally, and for the benefit of, for the general happiness and development, are you right? One would say you're not right. Because our law is very clear. It says, and I want to be very clear here, in Uganda, the Constitution and the Land Acquisition Act requires fair and adequate compensation for land acquired for road construction or any public purpose. This compensation must be paid prior to the taking of possession or acquisition of the property. The Land Acquisition Act also outlines procedures for accessing compensation, including potential disputes that can be resolved by the court. So, our system, our law, does not mandatorily say that if government has a project, they'll take that land. It is that if government has a project, they must compensate me. That land, they must compensate me, then I'll go away. I remember some years back I hosted the Honorable Minister for Information and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Radiomunsi. There's a radio show I do at 5 a.m. on Star FM, and he came very early. By then, I don't know how this thing was dropped, but by then, government of Uganda was pushing for what they call compulsory land acquisition bill. Now, this entailed that government will come to you and tell you, Julie, a road is going to pass here, a little bit it will go through your land. And government will come with a government valuer and say, according to the cost of land here, you're supposed to get 10 million shillings. And if, Julie, you said, no, for me, like, I want 100, because people know these things, that government is the highest payer. So a piece of land that would go for maybe 10 million, someone will say, me, I want 50 million. And if you can't afford the 50 million, you don't go ahead to construct that road. So government has two things to do. Either give you the 50 million or skip that particular part and work on other parts. When this is settled, maybe come back. Or the most expensive one, I've seen this in Western Uganda, change the road design to pass either in a different place. Now, this law is going to make things very clear, because the law we have now says before you begin using this place, you have to first pay me.
And allow me interject there and ask you a question. You've clearly stated that the law and taught us that the law states compensation is prior to the project taking its course. Why aren't people compensated? Because there are cases, we've seen people complain and talk about the fact that, you know, that part of their property was taken for development, for construction, but they never received compensations. And like we've heard, actually did in fact see Honorable Minsa Kabanda herself say that we do not have the money, but we are talking to them to give us. And ideally, it's hard to convince someone to just give you their property without the money.
It is a twofold. There is where there is money for compensation. And government is clear. The railway line is going to pass here. The oil pipeline is going to pass here. We've earmarked this amount of money for compensation. Now, that means initially compensation was budgeted for. But the challenge we have in this country is sometimes people in authority do not follow up. Now, the middleman there either steals, or the process takes a longer time than expected, or someone never.
The process of paying, of releasing the money.
Because they'll tell you, if it's Busaba Road and there was money allocated, they'll tell you, Abe Gangu Baba Sasude. You get it. Also, they are coming, they paid those in Gangu. They paid these, but they're also going to be, we are all earmarked and we are going to be compensated, because the main people have been compensated. But there are also projects that come when there wasn't that money for compensation. Now, the law had protected this where there is money for compensation. That bill that I told you, Honorable Dr. Chris Radiomunsi discussed with me on air, and I don't know where it died, and I have not got an opportunity to meet him again and ask him, Doctor, what happened? Now, government was going to come to you and tell you this land is valued at 10 million. The government valuer, given the price of the land in that area, and remember, government also factors in inconveniences and all that, so it pays you good money. Now, they would deposit this money on an account, and they would use that land by force. If you feel that you are given less, you would go to court. If court comes out with a judgment and says Robert was given 10 million, but we found out his land was 50 million, then government would give you the balance to top up. But what we are having today is people are highly pricing their land. And these government projects fail to take off because the money someone requires or asks government to pay could take even a kilometer of road to be done. And also had crafty people in government crafty business people who know that at a time T, a government project is going to pass here. They come, they buy the residents cheaply. Why are people buying this side? Why are people buying? Why are people buying? They know that there is going to be an airfield in that particular area, so government will want to compensate. Then this tycoon buys people 10 million, 6 million. At the end of the day, the man makes a fortune when government comes to purchase.
Well, I guess that's what they call monopoly, in case you know that game. It's a game really that ultimately shrewd businessmen applied. But you are watching UBC TV, and it's Good Morning Uganda. We are talking about the statement that the Ministry of Works made, that delays by the KCCA road construction projects are due to the refusal of residents to hand in or give up their land that is supposed to be compensated first and foremost, but it's also supposed to be used as a road for these development projects. And it's a conversation we're having, so feel free to get in touch, 0709602592, and share your opinion. Now, you mentioned that, that there's money, you know, if I'm told there's no money, one would wonder, shouldn't the government wait if there's no money? Can't the project be halted until the money is realized and then residents are approached, as opposed to approaching residents even without the money?
Now, if you look at some of our infrastructure development, a number of which are loans. Some are grants from the African Development Bank, but a number of these are loans. And even if they are grants now, you look at how much money you have, and you're like, this can do about this so many kilometers. Works of the road. But remember, most of the times with our law, you can't anticipate how much compensation will cost. Now, if government comes to you, I come from a place on Entebbe Road, you branch off from Nebalamye Mayanja, and you go all the way to where they crown the Kabaka Nagalabi. Now, they were going to construct that road. Indeed, it was constructed. They had a meeting with residents. I remember I was part of that meeting, and they told us, we want to work on this road for you people, from A to Z. However, we have money to work on the road, but we don't have money to compensate residents. In case at your particular place, we need a few feet. Are you willing to give? Because truthfully saying, the loan would enable them to work on the road, but if they had gone into compensation, and this is a challenge that some of our projects face, that the money that goes to compensating residents, most so now in urban centers, for example, in Kampala, if you may find that if you're to compensate people along the path of a road, the compensation may be half the money required to work. Now, you're going to tell a donor who comes from a country where for them their law is very different. If it's a government project, you relocate it. No compensation. Now here you're telling them that the road is going to cost maybe 250 billion. But when we look at we've done this, compensation alone is going to cost 200.
But isn't that a process that's supposed to take place prior? In other words, before the loan requisitions go ahead. That means there's a team discussing from behind the scenes, right from the word go in regards to when we go on ground to seek for compensation. How much money do we think is going into it, so that it's all a lump sum of money put on that one budget? So instead of 250 billion, it's higher than that, because the consideration is compensation is in that budget as well.
If you're looking for donors, if you're looking for loans, the space is very competitive. Now, where Uganda goes, other countries go there, and they want loans for infrastructure development. When we look at our budget as a country, what we put aside for road construction, given, you only cut a coat according to your cloth. Now, would we rather not have a road because we lack money to compensate Ugandans? And still compensation is funny. You remember the funny tree of a certain clan?
Yes.
where they were estimating a tree at 500.
That also reminds me that
Million
in
shillings?
Mukono still that there are works that KCCA is supposed to have there and actually put up a market for people in Mukono, but unfortunately the residents themselves have refused, stating that Ediotakalia Kabaka. And KCCA stated that they are now planning to have talks with the government of Buganda in regards to this particular piece of land. But shouldn't the KCCA probably have gone to Buganda first before going to the residents? Wasn't that quite obvious in the planning process? Or sometimes we drop the ball on some obvious points, and these moments of dropping the ball also costs money. It costs taxpayers.
The other challenge you usually have is when these monies come, I must say there's usually a panic, and this is common of government. Because sometimes the funds are not there. When they are there, they have to be spent. They have a duration to which you have to spend them or return them to the treasury. So it becomes complicated. But also not to say that someone may not have done so much of what they need to do. But when you tell residents in Kampala that you not surrendering your land is hindering, if you have the money, now residents also must be appreciative and understand certain things. Now, Julie, when a road comes in your community and fellow Ugandans watching us, there are so many benefits that you stand to get. One, the value of land shoots up immediately. The first thing, if a plot was going at 45 million, that is 100 by 50. I will tell you, if you have a well-tarmac road go through, that plot of land may double. Just imagine. Business booms. Rentals, the rent charges go high. More business comes in because there is a road. People will build good schools there. People will build clinics, better, even development, because now a better class of people comes in. I want to give you one of the areas that was Busabala. Busabala for a long time, for a very long time, you would find plots. You know, for them, you can hardly find someone buying serious land there. People buy 50, they buy decimals, they buy, of late they buy even, is it 30 by 25, whatever, but that is what they can afford. Now, one of the areas that was so cheap to buy land was Busabala. Because if you were coming to work, you had to have the clothes which you move or leave home with are not the ones you enter your place of work. So you had to carry a bag. When you get to work, you shower again. So because of the environment there. Now, land was relatively cheap. Today, when they have worked on Busabala, you can't just go there meandering with the 20 million looking for a plot, even if it is 50 by 50, 50 by 25. Because of the road.
Very interesting. Now, allow me read some of your comments. And James Chiboma says that we have some government officials that, all right, I think I lost that a bit. And yes, James says we have some government officials hiding behind the government to steal people's land. And Cricket Derek says, good morning, Julie and Uncle Bob. People always utilize road reserves mainly due to land shortage. Due to scarcity, some people end up squeezed in road reserves because it's the only option, but not intentionally. Secondly, is ignorance. It's ignorance because some land reserves can only be seen after road construction. One can buy a plot of land, and it's hard for them to estimate the demarcations of the road in case of construction, if construction comes with extension. I think the big blame still goes to government. Massive sensitization of locals is needed and coming on ground. This is Cricket Derek Gagamel from Machindie, Luafu. Very interesting perspective there.
I don't want to look at ignorance as an scapegoat, because anything to do with land, we all know it's a very sensitive thing. And you must do due diligence. You know, when you're buying land, it's not like you're buying a car. Even a car you need to. But with the land, there are so many complications that come in.
Yet it would surprise you that many Ugandans
and at the end
are still
of the day,
ignorant.
I've seen a person renting out a road reserve. And when KCCA comes, and dismantles everything.
Yeah.
This one says, but I've just paid, and they're told no, but this is a road reserve. So if you're doing anything on land, you must take due diligence. But also I want to encourage locals, let's interest ourselves in finding out. Then encourage and call upon the ministry, be more transparent. If there is not going to be compensation, let the people know, for example, that as you are working on this Petball Road, is it Rosita Silver Springs, that road? You know, that for this particular road, the project is worth this amount of money, and under this project, there has not been money allocated for compensation. So all of us, like I told you when it came to my village, Katale Busaula, there was a village meeting. These officials came from the district. I remember there was an engineer called Mwesigwa Kasumba and others. And they told us that there is no money, but fellow residents, and the good thing, this was a bone of the area.
Let's actually stop it right there, pause it right there, pardon me. Pause it right there. When we say there's no money, it's hard for most residents to trust that because of the corruption burden that we have as a country, right? Scandals happen where required money that is put in for requisition is different from what actually residents receive. And talk about the delays as well. So how best do you expect residents to trust the government to say, let me use your road, let me use your land for a road, but I'll compensate you as time goes by?
Now,
It's a tricky one.
that will not happen. When residents, you're telling them, because the law says, first pay me.
Yes.
Second, we've had bad stories, not very good stories actually, have come out where residents have not been compensated, but government has released the money. Now that technicalities between there.
Between, yes.
Then we've also had challenges of government officials stealing from the poor. How? Someone says, you sign, I've seen this, you sign 100 million, but for us to follow up on these matters, you get 50 million. If we opened calls for Ugandans who have ever experienced that to come with proof, they will tell you, a friend comes and tells you, for me, bampadde ya atano gange, kakati gwe bona alemerako, javiramu awo. You know, I've got my 50 million. For if you insist, you lose everything. But I know someone who can help you. He will take the 50 because it is not only him, it is the district engineer, the officials from Ministry of Finance who have to approve this. So, abonabo babalirire. You know, in Uganda, the corrupt are very smart.
In your perspective, indeed, as we even start to bring this to a close, what solution do you think government should pick to curb this corruption burden so that residents trust them to help in the quick development of the nation, but also curb this in-between zigzag circus that goes on for their money, so that as they give away their roads, their land for the road construction, they're sure that money is coming directly from the government to them without A, B, C, D, so on. So what solution would you suggest for the government?
One, first with corruption.
Yeah.
We've dealt with corruption. We need to get serious. We've talked, we've put institutions in place. We're going to start serious implementation of holding people accountable. The corrupt walk scot-free in this country. I know the IGG will tell me, my good friend, the Deputy IGG, Dr. Patricia, happy Labor Day celebrations, that Robert, they syndicate corruption, people conceal, people only report when they have not gotten, but we need to bite. Get those people. Let them serve sentences. Let's see them bite. Let's see the law bite. I believe even with our laws, the likes of former principal accountant and the office of the Prime Minister, Geoffrey Kazinda. I don't think the likes of Jimmy Ramafa, the likes of course, they served, and the likes of, there's a few we can count on fingers. I don't want to believe that they were the most careless when being corrupt. If the law was able to nab them, it can still, we need the will to fight corruption. Then, automation. We are in the digital era. You see, if government, if you continue embracing e-governance, that things you just get on your phone, get someone Google Map, this, that, then the money comes direct to your account. The more we do, look at now getting a passport, getting a driving license, the more you minimize human connection with technology.
Yes,
it limits corruption. So we take those two things with the e-government, and lastly, transparency. The Public Procurement Act and many that we have call for transparency. These billboards showing who is running the project, the time, the money, are residents going to be compensated, display them at districts on these sites so that people know that here there is no compensation.
Yes,
here there is compensation. We expect the road to end in this time. We expect this to, and then we shall. These are simple things we can do and get
Thank you very much, Robert, for those 3 nuggets. Very pertinent and important points. And I really should hope and believe that the government can and should and possibly is taking over. But allow me close with these final comments from you. Thank you for the show. I'm happy for the topic. In Uganda, land belongs to its citizens and of its public interest. There must be compensation because these people are displaced and need to resettle again. Brian in Rwanda. And good morning. Let government start by respecting people's rights before, and all will be done. So fast work upon that. If not, maybe a gun can work. Oh, no, we know. And finally, good morning, Uganda. The problem of Ugandans, we are confused, whereby a government had failed to give directions. For example, in Kenya, everyone knows the price of sugar, which leads to the protection of corruption every year. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. And thank you so much for choosing Good Morning Uganda and UBC TV. Good Morning Uganda still continues, so stay tuned.
The government's core mandate is to maintain law and order, safeguard citizens' rights, and provide essential public services.
Remember, one of the pillars of a roadmap is innovation and entrepreneurship.
There has been this question of how are you protecting our indigenous seed?
It's going to be a tall project. That answers somebody's question.
For the past 20 weeks, the front bench has brought you insightful discussions on governance, security, healthcare, justice, and commerce.
When you go through this complicated procedure, involve the lawyers, you bring the case against him, the judge will hear you out and pass judgment, and you're out of court in record time.
We remain committed to keeping you informed and engaged on key national matters.
So these are huge, these are powerful organizations which now Uganda chairs. Why don't you come together?
If we haven't migrated to the e-card because of various reasons, including that not all the people of Uganda have smartphones.
You can sit in your house, apply for a passport.
If you have a Ugandan who has a successful logistics firm in the US, it means he can come to Uganda and do a lot more.
Now airing every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with me, Jethro Kasaiji, your interface with the government only on your public broadcaster, UBC, Inspiring Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
He expected me to die like within the first 2 years.
Out of the womb, the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by
You can now get all the chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
omutwalo nandirese maama omukwano gwa nnyabo gwe wafuna.
Welcome back on the Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express. My name is Zakia Lucky and we are still diving into the vintage artifacts and heritage. In our first episode, we talked about the background and how these were collected and where they were collected from. But in this particular episode, we are showing you more to visualize and learn how these artifacts were used. Behind me is the radiogram. I'm just learning that it has so much history attached to it, and the music being played in the background is one of our own from the Ebonies, and of course the late Jim Wamala. I don't know if hip-hop plays on this, but we are yet to find out. We are coming back with Emmanuel, who's been taking us through the vintage experience. We are happy to have you back.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so you explained that this is a radiogram.
Yes.
How does it work and how did you get to put this together?
Well, in the old days, entertainment was one of the things that our forefathers enjoyed. From the small drums to the fiddles and such kind of thing. But here we have a piece of furniture that used to sit in the well-to-do families. Not every family had a piece like this.
Yes.
On the onset, when you look at it closed, you might think that it's just a table on which someone can put displays. But inside it are tools that give us entertainment. It will play vinyls, and like you said, we are listening to one which was played by, written and produced by our own, the late Jimmy Katumba and the Ebons. One way to preserve music is to record it on such media. Many people will call these different names depending on where we're coming from. But locally, they call it a mainja or a ginger. So when you talk about it, someone will not think about a sinotrack carrying stone, but it is this where music was recorded. People will call it a record. So I have my records on which music is recorded, yes. Others will call it an LP. I don't know what LP is in full, but they are called LPs, or the word vinyl, where music is recorded. But the very interesting bit about this is that this music is recorded onto this LP in a continuous circle.
Okay.
One circle continuing from the end, from one end as it goes into the interior. So as you can see, I can even tell you how many songs are recorded onto this one. Whenever you see a line, that means that's where the first song stops. So we have a song number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then on the flip side we also have. So there are 12 songs onto this one of these. Others will carry one song, depending on the size of the song. Today we talk about MBs and GBs in terms of sizes. I don't know what size they used to do on these ones. But the most interesting thing is how does the music get off the vinyl for you to be able to listen. There's this very important gadget.
Yes.
It's called a cartridge. And on this cartridge, there is like a small, tiny little needle. This needle sits in the groove, which was recorded onto this vinyl. So as this vinyl rotates, it picks the vibration and amplifies them. Therefore, the music comes out. So depending on how the waves were recorded, that is the sound that will come off the vinyl.
Yes.
And I mean, it's very intelligent that it will read any kind of sound that is recorded here, whether it's Uganda, Chinese, English, or any other language. The moment it sits here for it, it will read and then be able to give you the music that is produced off this. However, these things are not manufactured in Uganda. Okay. You can only order them online and then receive them here. But because this kind of technology is not also found everywhere, very few people, stores around Uganda will stock some things like this. If you want to master electronics, I bet you will not find this, because even if they stocked them, how many people have such things that will be able to buy them? Yeah. So we order them online and we are able to receive them now. Like the one you're holding, the cartridge you're holding is not in good shape. It's waste because it doesn't have that tiny little needle in this that would be able to read. So these are things that we need to handle with extra care so that we can preserve them for the future generation.
You talked about how this reads the music in line to the lines drawn here. So does it read moving upwards until this last song up here?
Yes. So the moment you place it onto this vinyl, I also need to mention that the recording is recorded at a particular speed of revolutions per minute.
Okay.
So there are those that are recorded at 33 revolutions per minute, either at 45 and 78.
Okay.
Yes. So if you have that gadget has the different steps. If it's also shown here which speed it was recorded. I don't know whether you can see which one yours at which speed yours was recorded. It's usually written somewhere. 33 and something, 45, it's written there. So each one it does, and the moment you notice that it is a 45 or 33, then on the gadget it will show you where to change so that it can read from the right recording. Now the moment you press it here like this, this line is continuous. It will continue reading until when it goes to the center. The moment it touches this, its AI will tell it, please get off, there's no more music, and then the arm goes back to rest. So you come and flip on the flip side, then you are able to listen to music which was recorded on side B. Still this will read and go up to the end.
Wow, are you saying this is different music from what is here?
Absolutely, there is side A and side B. Like I said, my side A has 6 songs and side B has 6 songs, in total 12. Yeah, and the other thing is that this kind of technology was so manual that the changing, you had to come physically, stop the machine, flip it on the other side, and then pull it back. Today, we only press buttons to do a few things, remote control, that kind of thing.
Control.
Yes.
Yes, that's interesting facts. I don't know if we can have this back, but I think the Gen Zs would enjoy this, especially that we have young people, that are curious and so hungry to learn many things like this, which is why the GMU Tourism Express is here to show you more about tourism. Stick with us and we are coming back with the 3rd episode.
Welcome back from GMU Tourism Express. I must say I'm enjoying the vintage series. I'm really, really enjoying it, and that one from Jimmy Katumba really reminds me of my own father. But good morning, Uganda. It's time for GMU Business. My name is Julie Nantaba Mosisi, and in the month of April, first and foremost, happy new month and a happy Labor Day to you. But if you've taken note that in the month of April, you have been probably purchasing your goods and services for a lot more than it was in May. Well, this is because the monthly headline inflation for April 2025 increased by 0.5% from the 0.2% rise registered for the month of March 2025. And this was due to the increase in the monthly core inflation by 0.4% in April 2025 from the 0.1 rise registered in March. Now, the main driver for the headline inflation in April was the monthly other goods inflation that increased by 0.5% from the 0.0% recorded in March, and monthly food crops and related items inflation increased by 1.3% in April from the 1.1% rise recorded in March. Energy, fuel and utility inflation decreased by 0.1% in April from the 0.3% drop registered in March 2025. And Masaka Center registered the highest annual inflation at 5.0%, while Mbale registered the least at 1.7%. Now, looking at matters, National Bureau of Standards alongside supermarkets, the Uganda National Bureau of Standards is cautioning the supermarket owners and operators against stocking products that are not certified. A recent market surveillance and inspection exercise by the standards body unearthed several irregularities in stocking and labeling. Uganda National Bureau of Standards has cautioned supermarket owners against stocking goods that lack proper certification, and the warning was issued during an interface with supermarket owners and operators within Kampala and Greater Kampala to address import inspection processes based on the 2022 regulations. Now, this meeting is vital to enhancing quality standards and ensuring consumer protection for a safer shopping experience, says Sylvia Chirabo, the Principal Public Relations Officer at UNBS. As the population grows and supermarkets and mini markets rapidly increase across the country, the business community have become an easy target for unscrupulous dealers who supply uncertified and substandard products. And the standards body is in to listen to the business community, understand the areas of improvement for a win-win situation. In regard to the pre-export verification of conformity, importers must ensure that they obtain a certificate of conformity. This helps prevent losses when products are rejected for failing to meet Uganda's standards. Now let's take a look at Uganda's debt burden. Government is on a mission aimed at minimizing and managing the debt burden, says the Commissioner in charge of Debt Policy Insurance, Paul Okitoy. He says government currently prioritizing financing of projects with high investment returns to support domestic investment and minimizing borrowing. Uganda's increasing debt burden is becoming a major concern to the nation's public finances and economic growth, and the rising debt to GDP ratio and high debt servicing costs have caused controversy over the country's ability to finance essential development programs. Now, according to economics, Uganda's debt is projected to rise up to 52.7% by June 2025. And the Executive Director, Uganda Debt Network, Patrick Tumwebaze, noted that a lot needs to be done to examine how the country can minimize borrowing, especially on non-priorities. During the national conference convened to examine Uganda's debt crisis and highlighting connections between colonial debts and current fiscal challenges, stakeholders also noted the need by government to have a streamlined borrowing culture. The Commissioner in charge of Debt Policy Insurance at Ministry of Finance, Paul Okitoy, revealed that the government is currently prioritizing financing of projects with high investment return, supported domestic investment. He further allayed all fears, noting that government is also managing the current debt burden. The conference provided an opportunity to stakeholders to discuss continental and national debt challenges, explore strategies for sustainable development, and advocate for a more equitable global financial system. Government is to consider the National Identification Number, that is the NIN, to be used as an alternative to tax identification number, the TIN, to remit taxes to the Uganda Revenue Authority. This is part of the tax strategies to widen the tax base, especially to increase revenue in the forthcoming financial year. Government also proposes an exemption of citizens starting up business from tax for 3 years. And the Finance Committee of Parliament asked that the period be extended to 5 years. The Minister of State for Finance, Planning and Economic Development is in charge of general duties, that is Henry Musasizi, appeared before the Finance Committee of Parliament to defend the tax bills of 2025. And among the bills include the Income Amendment Bill 2025, which proposes an extension of tax waiver to Bujagali Hydropower Dam for 5 years. This move has remained a nightmare as some MPs cite foul play in the process. Several reports, including of the Auditor General and Parliament Ad Hoc Committee, recommended recovery of some taxes from Bujagali investment, but in vain. The Income Tax Amendment Bill 2025 also seeks to exempt citizens who start up businesses from the tax for 3 years. but the MPs request for 5 years instead, and the move is to increase market access, especially to the East African region, since the citizenship covers East African community. The Uganda Revenue Authority is looking at considering the use of NIN numbers to remit taxes contrary to the TIN numbers. And another area was the issue of the penalties under IFRIS, as government is to phase out the 6 million charges for defaulters, but rather double the penalty. When asked whether the current status quo penalizes the defaulters of tax through IFRIS, Minister Musasizi responded in tongues. Now let's have a look at what the forex rates look like as of 30th April 2025. The dollar was opening at 3,660 buying 3,660.64 and selling at 3,670.64, and by midday it had dropped to 3,660.00 buying and selling at 3,670.00. It closed in at a little increase of 3,658.36 and selling at 3,668.36. The British pound was buying at 4,895.98 and selling at 4,909.37. The euro was buying at 4,159.19 and selling at 4,170.56. And the Kenyan shilling was buying at 28.30 and selling at 28.38. The Tanzanian shilling has maintained 1.36 buying and selling at 1.36 still, and the South African rand buying at 197.03 and selling at 197.56. Well, that's it from GMU Business. All right. Once again, let's rerun the story of the Consumer Price Index with the monthly headline inflation for April 2025 that increased by 0.5% from the 0.2% rise registered for the month of March 2025. And this was due to the increase in the monthly core inflation by 0.4% in April 2025 from the 0.1 rise registered in March. The main driver for the headline inflation for April was the monthly, that is other goods inflation, that increased by 0.5% from the 0.0 recorded in March. And monthly food crops and related items inflation increased by 1.3% in April from the 1.1% rise recorded in March. Energy, fuel and utility inflation decreased by 0.1% in April from the 0.3% drop registered in March 2025, and Masaka Center registered the highest annual inflation at 5.0%, while Mbale registered the least at 1.7%. Good Morning Uganda does continue. The agenda is up next. Once again, happy Labor Day.
Pick of the day on UBC.
He expected me to die like within the first 2 years.
Out of the blue, the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily or use the MyMTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
This is Diamond Platinums. Just want to confirm to you that May 24th, I'll be performing live at Africa Coffee Park for Coffee Marathon concert, and Diamond Platinums will be performing live. So tell all Mukos, Lion Simba is coming. Gonna have fun, gonna celebrate.
Grab your kit, grab your shoes, because we are running at the Coffee Marathon in Tungamo on the 24th of May. And if running is not your thing, you can show up for the vibes. As we close the day at the Coffee Concert with live performances from Diamond Platinums, Sister Charity, and Ray G. Visit www.coffeemarathonug.com to register now for just 30,000 shillings. Your fee includes a marathon kit and full access to the concert. The Coffee Marathon, uplifting rural coffee women out of poverty. Brought to you by Inspire Africa Group.
Buza Commissioner, enhancing tax education and bringing it closer to the taxpayers. Many Ugandans have questions about the taxes they pay to URA.
When we come at revenue, they tell us to clear Chitenge at 10,000. And when we are selling Chitenge, we sell it at 17. So we don't know whether we are working or not.
Understanding your tax obligations can help you grow your business and avoid unnecessary losses. Now, you can get direct answers. Send your tax-related questions via WhatsApp or SMS to 0790-141-887, and the Commissioner General of URA, John Musinguzi, will personally address them. Tune in to UBC News Tonight every Monday and Wednesday for expert insights and clear explanations. Buza Commissioner.
The government's core mandate is to maintain law and order, safeguard citizens' rights, and provide essential public services.
Remember, one of the pillars of a roadmap is innovation and entrepreneurship.
There has been this question of how are you protecting our indigenous seed?
It's going to be a tall project that answers somebody's question.
For the past 20 weeks, the front bench has brought you insightful discussions on governance, security, healthcare, justice, and commerce.
When you go through this complicated procedure, involve the lawyers, you bring the case against him, the judge will hear you out and pass judgment, and you're out of court in record time.
We remain committed to keeping you informed and engaged on key national matters.
So these are huge, these are powerful organizations which now Uganda chairs. Why don't you come together?
If we haven't migrated to the e-card because of various reasons, including that not all the people of Uganda have smartphones.
You can sit in your house, apply for a passport.
If you have a Ugandan who has a successful logistics firm in the US, it means he can come to Uganda and do a lot more.
Now airing every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with me, Jethro Kasaiji, your interface with the government only on your public broadcaster, UBC, Inspiring Uganda.
Across Uganda, the parish development model is paving the way for prosperity, helping families transform their lives through strategic farming practices, like the 4-acre model.
In our Chivaro of 1996, we said first acre, put coffee. Second acre, fruits. The third acre, you put pasture for dairy cows. The fourth acre, for food, cassava. The good thing is that now cassava is also becoming a very good cash product, but at least for food. Then, mind you, the backyard. You put poultry for eggs, you put piggery.
I'm in a 1-acre plot of land. In this 1 acre, Your Excellency,
I practice this banana plantation. I also practice coffee. I also have dairy, Your Excellency. Every month, Your Excellency, I get 500,000 from these bunches.
The 7 activities we recommended, they have a big global demand.
We have 10,000 Nile tilapia fish and 10,000 African catfish. And when we sell our 10,000 tilapia, we get in one harvest 20 million shillings.
Fruits, especially capsule, which is cold, can do very high value crops like apples. And then finally, those who are near the wetlands, like the ones in the Bukit who are wasting the wetlands, they should do fish farming, not in the center of the swamp, but at the edge of the swamp.
From coffee farms to fish ponds, the 4-acre model is empowering Ugandans to transform their lives. The parish development model is your pathway to wealth creation. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance.
Ghetto structure okusooka ffe twali twepima nga ghetto structure tenabeerawo bali batugoba nga bintu si byakubeera nga tusobola okumiitinga mu mwali temusobola na kutumiitinga batulaga bagenda tulondesa obukulembeze ne batulaga nti tulina okweteekateeka ne batulaga nti mu bayamba mulina okubeera ne sako era essaawa zino eno nakasente tukayina mwekalimu ofiisi tukakozesa babeneficiaries abantu ab'omu ghetto wansi tuyanziza nnyo His Excellency the President of Uganda Brigadier General Damulira Major Emma Kuteesa House Controller anti-ghetto tumuyita anti-ghetto structure kati mulimu nze nagufuula mulimu office eno ghetto structure mulimu kati gwenkola sikyalina kyenkola kyonna banaye ba ghetto youth mwenna bakubiriza ghetto structure yazze n'emikono ebiri ebeere ng'etuyambako oba ng'etujjayo yonna gye tuli ng'etusupportinga mu buli kimu veeyo akasente mwe kali mu office ak'okwekulaakulanya mutuukire office ensonga zammwe zonna zigenda kukolebwako.
Good morning, Uganda. Thank you so much for sticking around since we started and watching UBC TV. My name is Julie Nantava Mosisi. It's time for the agenda. Happy Labor Day. And as you celebrate your Labor Day, while you rest at home and choose to relax away from the busk of work, we still continue to serve you. Now, today we are focusing on the unsung heroes, and that is celebrating Uganda's local farmers. Now, in studio with me is Engineer Moses Kaziwe from MK Mixed Farm in Gomba. He will be talking to us about farming and every detail in there. He is such an intense farmer, and he will be telling us his story. So if you are interested in agriculture, this is the time for you to learn and relearn. Once again, good morning. Good morning, Engineer Moses.
Good morning, my sister. I'm humbled to be in UBC, my TV, our TV as Ugandans.
Here to inspire Uganda.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming through on this Labor Day.
Yes.
Allow me first ask you a question that I've been asking our friend on the other side. Do you intentionally celebrate Labor Day?
Yes, I do, just because I'm an employer. I'm an employer. I have so many youth that we're employing in our farm from all parts of Uganda, east, south, west, and central. So basically, I think I'm entitled to celebrate this day because I am employer.
Oh, very beautiful.
Yes.
Now, like I mentioned, the engineer Moses Kaziwe is from MK Mixed Farm. And allow me ask you, tell us about your journey into farming. How did you start and why?
In fact, a viewer outside there would be wondering, how is it MK? You know, we have so many MKs, we have, yeah, as you know. But MK comes out of Moses Kaziwe. Those are my names. And yeah, that's how I started the farm. In fact, my late grandfather inspired me in this. The family, actually, I come from my family background. We are farmers. My grandfather was the largest ginger farmer in Uganda in 90s, late 90s, early 90s, 80s. He had coffee, so he inspired me a lot because this old man had 3 cars in his compound then. You can imagine. So I looked at farming. That time, actually, coffee was very cheap compared to today's price, and ginger was very cheap. After, I think my grandfather inspired also His Excellency the President by him knowing, you remember in 80s, by him knowing that this is the largest ginger farmer in Uganda, he offered him a brand new Tata truck and a brand new tractor. Back in the days, for one to give you such equipment, it was a serious token of appreciation. So I looked at farming as something that we cannot skip in our daily programs. For example, you see the coffee we have on this table. Yeah, it is also coming from the farm.
That means one time we should host you to teach us how to take coffee.
Yeah, definitely. but coffee, I think for Ugandans, we grew up taking coffee. Do you know how we used to process it? Back in the days, we would get a dry coffee and then put in a saucepan, fly it, beat, and then put this stuff called chinu, you know it? And then we make powder and then put in your tea. And that's what I grew seeing, because my grandfather never had tea, the other tea that is coming from Buhweju and Mukwano Industries. So we used to have this coffee made by ourselves in our homes.
Oh,
yes.
that's so profound.
Yes.
And you've mentioned that farming has been a part of you, right from your grandfather. And you're not extremely old, right? And you're
I'm a bit aged now.
Really? But by the time you've learnt it from your grandfather, it means it's something that you've done for the longest time in your life as a youth, growing up, growing into a young adult. It's something that you've been a part of. Farming has been a part of you, and you've been a part of it. And now, Uganda being a relatively young country, 75% of the population are young people in Uganda. And for the most part, the youth have a negative outlook on farming and towards farming. How have you kept farming at heart, and how have you kept farming with a positive outlook?
In fact, my sister, before I go to my own side, I normally tell the youth, like last weekend I hosted the youth from Butambala County. I think you know Butambala as a district, and Mpigi,
yes,
the greater Mpigi. So they visited me. In fact, the issue was, how do we help these people? You know, the peak season, because coffee, the price had raised. Sorry, I've jumped your question.
Yes,
the coffee had raised this season. So we are trying to help the youth by giving at least 100 seeds to the youth of Butambala, because I'm born in that district. So I was touched. I said, okay, how do I also touch the lives of my youth that are in my constituency in Butambala? So what I did last weekend, we hosted them, and I think UBC was also part of the televisions, which
I can see some of the footage.
Yeah, so we gave 100 coffee plants to 100 youth from Butambala, both girls and boys. So why is it? Why did I do this? You know, I love moving together with a group of people, not alone in this whole thing. And also, if we decide to leave this for only President Museveni to be the one in charge of this, that, it won't help us. Yeah, and I was emphasizing the youth that we should grow our old coffee, because me, I have a very strong background about our seed that we plant in the soil. It takes quite some long time than this other new modified coffee. So it doesn't need a lot of water, it doesn't need a lot of fertilizers. And remember, why Uganda is now the second largest coffee growers is because of our mother plant, the other old plant of coffee. So we emphasize farmers in our region that let's go with our ordinary coffee. You know, these things, you know, irrigation, yes, President is emphasizing we should use the other water bottles and all that, but for how long are you going to use it? It helps when it is still young, but when it grows a bit, you have to use the irrigation systems for you to give enough water to the plant. So back to the question, we can't leave this nation to be, driven by one person, President Museveni. We need to help him. That is why you see the man is moving everywhere to find out whether his youth or his people received the 1 million shilling for PDM. Otherwise, this work would be for even the DISO, even the RDC. But these guys are seated in.
But we noticed that, still going back to the question of the youth, many youth are disinterested and uninterested in matters farming. And if anything, all these PDM initiatives, the Myoga and all of that, would make more sense perhaps if youth appreciated the value of farming in Uganda. But unfortunately, many of them, you can tell that they are venturing into other projects.
You see?
Maybe like processing food, or maybe like buying bodas and have a boda community, or, you know, investments such as those, aside from having a hoe and digging. So how best do you think farming can be pressed on the hearts of the youth as a passion?
Thank you.
I am grateful for what you're doing already by inviting a few of them to show them.
Yeah, that's actually one of the issues we tackled on that day was, why would you sell your acre of Chibanja at 7 million? You buy a boda at maybe 7 million, exact money that you got from your Chibanja, and go to Kampala to crowd the city, and then accidents and etc. etc. Now, since I'm now on a national television, I'm here to inform the youth of Uganda. Time is now. For example, if you have a diploma in civil engineering, you have a degree in medicine, and you are not yet committed to any job, you know, people can be on streets for more than 5-10 years looking for the job that they don't know whether it will come or...
That's true.
Now, if anything, I know most parents who manage to pay a 3 million shilling to Makerere University and all through the schools can afford to buy 1 acre. Let our start from us, the parents. If you see your child is getting out of school, let us also train our children like the Kenyans did. We train them on what, you know, first of all, the first thing in life is what to survive on. Now, if you buy an acre or half an acre for your child, let's say this man plants 225 plants of coffee. He will be able to earn maybe the 7 million he would have sold in this Chibanja, and buy a boda, maybe he's killed, maybe accident, etc. But this coffee will stay for more than 100 years if you planted our ordinary coffee plant. Now, also the Guatemala, as you will see, that one you are seeing on your screen. The Guatemala, if I'm doing half an acre of Guatemala, I'm getting dry silage, which is 10
Just to be clear, what Guatemala?
Guatemala is an animal feed, like you're seeing.
Yes, please.
And many people, many scientists are discouraging our people in Uganda not to use Guatemala to feed their animals.
Why?
You know, our scientists are just copy-paste, most of them, not the doctors in the hospital, but these ones who are in ministries, and they copy-paste, because I don't know how they use this science. Long ago, when I was still young, a cousin brother of mine who had some good business near our home had the Guatemala plant. This is how I got impressed to start planting this Guatemala. So he had 5 Frisian cows, and they were giving him a lot of milk, which I don't know in numbers, liters. Then I was still young, 9 years. Now, when I found this plant somewhere, I said, oh, this is the Guatemala I saw in my cousin's farm. I started with only 3 plants. 5 years later, we have now 100 acres of that animal feed. I realized later the president was on TikTok telling people that, you people, farmers, please plant animal feeds as much as possible. You know, this heat that we had a few months ago has taught us so many things. So, back to your question, youth that are watching this television, I'm encouraging you guys, do something now, don't wait for tomorrow. You see my coffee you are seeing on UBC, I have Guatemala, I have Gonja, I have Alvera. So we are trying actually to bring this as Moses Kazube Foundation. I have also a foundation at MK Mixed Farm to show our people, yes, you can also do it. Like in the village where my farm is, you can come with your cameras and visit each and every homestead. You will find people have Frisian cows now. Because of my aspiration, they have goats. You know, some time ago I had 800 goats. So my neighbors would come. Instead of selling the 500, 300,000 to a goat to the outsider, my neighbors would pay me 120,000 as a condition. Why? I want my neighbors also to look at me as their savior. Because
also
the time,
attach value.
Yeah, the time I went to this village, you wouldn't even find matoke food in their homes. You know, in between Gomba and Butambala, people used to be reluctant. They have fertile soil, but they don't use it. So when they realized that, in fact, even now to buy something from nearby my farm, it would be very expensive for you. So I inspired the youth around me. Some people now have some goats, some have cows for keeping them moving. And actually used to find cassava, the food for their own home. Now I'm so happy. All my neighbors, you can't find somebody that's storing someone neighbor's food because of my aspiration. So we want to encourage Ugandans that whoever you are, even if you are in Busoga, Jinja, Iganga, Wea, Gulu, Mbarara, if you have something, don't be so mean. Tell the neighbors, you know, when your neighbors have what to eat, you will not suffer.
And by aspiration, that's what you mean?
Yes,
you've aspired for them?
Yeah, you must aspire your neighbors also to join the journey of having food in their home, some cash flow. Like there's a man I'm seeing, I admire a lot, a teacher on TikTok. The man is not paid from anybody, from government, but the man is trying to teach our youth that please don't sell your land, Mohammed Kachika of Vienna College. I don't know personally this guy, but whenever I see him, he has the same heart that I have for his neighbors. You know, we would allow our neighbors also to come and grow beans and whatever they can within our coffee plantation since it is still young, and they earn something. Basically, mostly the youth who do not have land for where to grow their crops.
For the young people out there, if you're young, energetic, I hope you're picking a word or two. Uganda is 75% youth populated. That means we are the ones holding Uganda right now. And if we don't learn from those above us, clearly we would be letting our nation down. But on this Labour Day, we are celebrating the unsung heroes, celebrating the local farmers of Uganda. And in studio with us is Engineer Moses Kaziwe from MK Mixed Farm in Gomba. A lot thus far he has taught us. And allow me read a couple of your comments. James Chiboma says, congratulations to MK on your incredible success this Labour Day. We honor your hard work, dedication, and the vital role you play in feeding our communities. Your story is truly inspiring. This is from Chiboma James in Maracha.
Thank you.
And good morning, UBC. I want to concur with my mentor. It's true that a young person can progress through agriculture, but the challenge is that in some areas, we are not progressing simply because of some circumstances, like poor roads to transport the goods, like in Greater Nebi, where I am. If the head of state can think of us, it would be better. We can do better than other regions, but because of poor roads, we can't do it in that way. Greetings to my fellow youths who are doing great in job creation. What would you tell this gentleman here from Nebi? This is Prince Rasul from Nebi.
Rasul, thank you for watching UBC from Nebi. I know Nebi. In fact, I've been to across Pakwachi, that river, at Honorable Fred Omachi's place. You know, I have friends all over the country.
All over the country.
I love having all Ugandans as one, you know. Thank you for such a wonderful whatever. But now for the roads, actually, this is what we are saying here. Government of Uganda is always giving money to its districts under road fund. In fact, now road fund has gone back to Ministry of Works, but I think General Katumba Amara will do something better. But we shouldn't always, you as youth who is watching me here, we shouldn't be always accusing our government. You know, if we want to stay in a better Uganda, let us work hand in hand. If you're a group of youth that you are seeing that there is an issue of the road in your area, and there is an RDC and DSO and ETC, what I know about President Museveni's government, or our government, because when Uganda has a good government, I would be proud of it. You go to this person with a write-up and say, okay, we have seen you doing the other road. Come and also maintain our road so that our crops can cross to Kampala. I know maybe they have good land for soybean, and soybean is on high demand. Let me tell you a story. In the last few seasons, actually last year, drought hit the following nations: Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi. A kilo of beans that we are throwing on dustbin here in Uganda is costing 46 to 48,000 Uganda shilling. And also, I would emphasize those who are marketing our things in Uganda should also get out there and find where can we do better. Like, for example, if our beans are costing 5,000 in Uganda, and there is value for us to pack it and sell it to Malawi and Zambia and etc, etc. Even up to now, these people are still suffering with that, with food, because you can't grow beans tomorrow and you harvest it the next day. So I emphasize the guys who are employed in government offices. This time we are not going to blame the president all the time. President Museveni, the guys, you know, you can't be a president and be an RDC, a doctor in a hospital, what? The guy is also trying to expand by giving, actually, you know why he has created so many. Now Maracha is a district. It used to be under Arua or Lira something. But now, why he's creating these districts? At least he knows that the person who is a chairperson is born in that area. He could know the problems of his people around him. So service delivery is what actually was his target by creating more districts. Like I was in Butambala, and where my farm is in Komba. You could know Chabanji Abdu, my brother, was the first MC5 chairman. So I would just walk in. Now, like you, the youth who is in Maracha, you walk to the office of the person you elected as a chairperson, that here there is a problem. Our soybean can't go out. Sit down on a round table. You don't need to riot. And then get information, agree. Maybe he may be having a grader, no fuel. Government hasn't sent money. You know, we used to have Bulunjiwansi. In my village, I opened a road of 4 kilometers from the tarmac road to my people in the village. But you did it
on your own initiative. How was the process? Because for some, I've noticed that they will say we want to maybe help government initiatives, but the process of us being able to help here and there with the roads is also very bureaucratic. Yes.
No, you see, the issue here is the for God and my country has been turned into for God and my stomach.
Okay.
If you've offered to do a road which is really impassable, and you see a LC5 chairman is like, I'll give you an example. My road, a 4-kilometer road that I made in Gomba, from Buyinja Butole to my farm in Budonga is 4 kilometers. Do you know the district authorities, when they are doing other roads, they leave mine there, because now this road is for Kaziba Moses. You can imagine. Even I opened it with my bulldozers and everything. They cost on me everything. But now when they are doing other maintenance of other roads, you see, this is the problem we have in our leadership in the villages, not President Museveni. These people, our own people, I don't know, we are not on the same whatever.
So you helped the government in an initiative, but now the government doesn't want to
now they say, okay,
take on the mantle.
It's not the government, the district.
Yeah.
Because now they are doing other roads connecting to mine. There is a roundabout where we all connect, where all these roads connect. They would do this one going to another place, and this one, they leave mine there. Because now there's Enakazi will come and do it. The other time I helped using my own money, but now they cannot help to maintain this road for the community to pass, whatever. So what I'm saying here is also our leaders, the local leaders, the biggest problem, RDCs, I don't know where they are coming from. I'm sorry to say this on our national TV. The job that the president is doing, it is supposed to be for the RDCs. They are the political heads to handle all these issues that the president sent money for. Another issue I want to add in here is like the guys in Maracha. Would emphasize those guys, if you are not very hungry for money, don't quickly engage the foreigners to buy your land. You can create an organization of Maracha youth from Makerere University, sit with your parents as the CEOs, sit somewhere and agree, okay, we are 10. We can do 50 acres of soybean. Go to the district. Government has sent plowing tractors to all districts all over Uganda. Maybe information is not given out. And then you engage, they have bulldozers, they have everything at the district level. Maybe your fathers can help you to fuel. Maybe the district doesn't have money for fueling these equipment. You can put some small money to bush clear the place, and Maracha, they don't have too much forest. The land is flat and fertile. Do 50 acres of soybean. It grows quite very well in Maracha and that northern Uganda. Okay, in the harvest time, you will see that you are getting 50 million or 100 million in the first harvest. So you put money back, because they have a lot of land. You do a square mile, etc., etc. Within, if you have 50 or 10, within 2-3 years, people will be calling you the hams you see in Kampala. You will be coming from Maracha with the sacks of money to buy arcades in Kampala. Actually, many people are now running away from shops. You know why? You have to pay rent, people are not buying, but for food, I can assure you, even in your house, you left food for people at home. And as you go back, you'll go and prepare for your husband supper or dinner, but it's still food. Most restaurants in Kampala here, food is a bit expensive of late, actually.
Yeah,
even matoke, you go to the market, you find a small bunch of matoke is at 35,000 shillings. What does it mean? I had 50 acres of matoke in Maokota in 2016, 220 something. The bunch was at 5K in my farm. So today, it is, I got shocked. The bunch is almost 25,000 at the farm. So basically, as the CEO of African Development Bank prophesied, he said, the next richest person in the world will come from the farm. Why would you think my friend Dangote is now giving seedlings? You see, our people here, they love copy-paste. Dangote, what makes him to be the richest in Africa? He now left the industrials because he has already built the capacity, financial capacity. So he's now giving seedlings to his people in Nigeria. Whoever, he gets only 30% of the harvest, the profit of what you have made. So, but he would have helped you to bush clear, giving seeds and etc. etc. So for you, your duty is to take care of the crops until they grow. We also do, if you don't mind, we also do aloe vera. I think your cameraman can show the aloe vera. We have the aloe vera plantation in Gomba. And I would like to thank the President of the Republic of Uganda. When I met with him, we discussed a lot. I told him that, you know, HE, there is a company called Forever Living. We shouldn't look at only food or coffee. Do you know aloe vera would give us much better revenues than the coffee we are lamenting all the time? We got only $1.6 billion last year. I mean this year. Remember last year we got, you see we have also coffee seedlings that I'm giving out to our local farmers, the neighbors and the youth. We have almost 5 million seedlings, so which I made by myself. Whoever wants to come and take some, the door is open, but normally we sell these seeds on weekends. There is another issue why we are stuck by not having too much coffee millions of tons to take abroad. Why? Now, there was limitation, which we don't need as a country. And the president...
yeah.
Okay.
In fact, before we even digress, because we are coming right onto the challenges that you face as local farmers, but from what Miss Engineer Moses Kazibwe has
That's
stated...
our Gonja plantation?
Yes, yes. It looks beautiful
we
and
have
healthy.
41 acres.
It looks very healthy.
If not the biggest, maybe at least within the first 10, top 10.
Yes.
Why we plant that Guatemala, you see Guatemala on the
Yes.
trenches, it helps on soil erosion.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
And for our youth, the question that we got broader about was the question of the youth, how they can be imbued to love farming. Because in this day and age, you notice that the youth have a negative connotation and perspective towards farming. But Engineer Kazibwe has painted a picture to encourage you, the youth, and has quoted that the next richest man will be a farmer. Now, if you want to be a part of the conversation, 0709-602-592, that is the WhatsApp number to send or share your opinion. And on this Labor Day, we are celebrating the unsung heroes and celebrating local farmers. That's why we have Engineer Moses Kazibwe in studio with us. I see many of your comments are coming through. Let me just read one and then we continue. Good morning. This is from Anua George. You say, good morning, UBC, I'd like to visit his farm. Any contact, he will do that as we close in on the show. And you say that you're watching from the AfroMobile app in Kitgum. Thank you so much, George, for watching the show. Now, you had started going into the challenges, Engineer Moses, into the challenges, and allow me open that flow for you. What challenges do you face day to day as a local farmer?
My sister, before we go to the challenge, I would like to thank those who are dropping in messages for us. And before I tackle on that, I would like to inform that gentleman of Kitugum. There is a lieutenant colonel in the army. He was still a captain called, I've forgotten his name. It's been long. He visited my farm when I just started farming, and he was like inspired with what I was doing.
Yes.
That Moses, I don't have the money, but how do I plant also trees in my village in Kitugum?
Yeah.
So I offered him 10,000 eucalyptus trees, and he took it, and he was actually doing well.
Amazing.
So also, I would like to emphasize to our people that whenever government is building a road, utilize that road reserve by planting trees. I'm not insulting you, but use it because it will help us to protect the environment. Since you are not growing food there, plant trees to beautify our country.
Yes.
Back to your question, the challenges we have as farmers, basically now for the side of Alvera and Guatemala, we don't have any pests attacking these crops. For the coffee, there's that wilt people are talking about. But to my farm, because I would ask those who want to understand how to manage the pests in coffee to visit my farm. I might not say it here because, you know, our scientists, they don't like some of these techniques that we are using to kill that bad whatever into our coffee plantations. Actually, how I manage even in Gonja, 41 acres, I don't have the wilt in my Gonja. So people got shocked, but I just whisper it to you. I don't want to say it publicly because it is my technique that I use in the farm to avoid the pests. If you say it here, the so-called scientists will start now telling the nation that it can't be what. Yet they are the ones telling us that we go GMO, and then we reach an extent that the maize that they advised us to plant are giving our people poisons. And we left our ordinary maize, which was very sweet and small but very sweet, and we never had issues. The most challenges we have in actually using the human labor. You employ a youth today. He works for only 15 days and he says, boss, give me advance. I have to send something home. As soon as you give him, I've used many from Kisoro to Soroti, here in Uganda, Gulu, where. As soon as you deposit the half salary, that boy will disappear. You leave on Sunday. Monday he's no longer in the farm. What does this mean? You see, I always actually coach my workers that, you see, you came here for a reason.
Yes.
You are still young. Have a target. Me, I'm working for 6 months. Me, I'm working for 1 year so that I can earn something. Now, like an acre of land in Kitgum is around 600, 700,000. If you work for 1 year, maybe you would have saved money for you to acquire an acre of land in Kitgum if you are coming from that side. But these boys, I don't know what is forcing them. You see, the technologies and the TikToks we have are lying a lot. You find one man posts that there is Illuminati which is going to give you money, and then you place this number, tomorrow you have the money. And then this camufo of betting is also another business. As I was growing up, actually, let me tell you something. We used to go to governor. You had governor. Me, as soon as I entered there, and you know at that time, governor is of recent. As soon as I entered this disco, my concern was, Charlie Vega is making a lot of money from us. Oh my God. I move around. 1 hour later, I get out of this place. I think of what to do in the next morning. You know why? Because you see, someone has done something small, is taking a lot of money from you, and then for you, you are just there enjoying
splashing the money,
splashing the money, taking beers and all this.
Yeah.
You see, if you haven't earned something, please stay back. Say, okay, what is my capacity? And what I always emphasize to our youth and my children as well, because I'm a father, that you see, don't be like others. Maybe all of us, the other day, somebody was interviewing me on a television, and he said, me, I'm a news anchor, how would I go into farming? But I said, how much are you earning? This is what is important. If you are earning $1 million or 2 or 3 from UBC, and then you can earn another 700 for paying your rent house in Chisasi or where, you would have saved something. Why don't you add up something? Even actually where people are living in Kampala, if you are on 50 by 50, I give you an advice. You can grow these kakupa, the yams called kakupa. I don't know. I have guys in my house in Mutundwe here, if you know Mutundwe. They are taking it to UK, and they are buying a kilo of kakupa at 2,500 shillings. Can you believe this? Wow. Today, kakupa is on market. We used to drop it in a pit.
It used to be poor man's food.
No, yeah, poor man's food and pig's food. So, you see, we need to open up our people's mind that, you see, let's do a lot. I was also, we are still on challenge, but yes. I was also trying to thank the president. That's when you cut me off. President of the Republic of Uganda, when I met him, I told him, in 2007, I went to Texas. I found the great farmer of Forever Living. Forever Living is the biggest manufacturer of aloe vera products, of which I know you're using, and everyone in Uganda. I happened to be the first Ugandan, African, to know about Forever Living. Imagine, a very brilliant young man, around 2002. Now, these guys sent me a form to fill in and then become their distributor in Africa. I was busy on other things so much. You know, my brain that time was so hot, yeah? I don't like sitting here and I don't earn it, you know, it takes long. So later I visited the guys in 2007. When I went to Texas, these guys took me around their farm. They have 7,000 hectares of aloe vera. I think you guys can show our people how aloe vera looks like, the one I got from Texas. Now, I engaged the president of the Republic of Uganda, this brilliant, nice man, Mr. Museveni. He said, Kaziwe, okay, tell me. I said, 2023, Forever Living, each of you has a phone. You Google. They got $445 billion in sales of aloe vera. $445 billion, which we can never even get in Hoima oils. Can you believe this? Why don't we engage Ugandans to also grow aloe vera? Because when I brought samples in 2007 with my colleague Ali, here it did well. In Texas, you would get a half kilo from a leaf. Here in Uganda, we get more than 2.5 kilos. Oh, President was so excited. He said, you go with the directive now. He gave me a directive. But I tell you what, there is nothing that we are manufacturing in Uganda that can beat aloe vera in terms of tax revenue for the nation. Nothing we have here as of today. Coffee, we got $1.6 billion. The other time, we got $260 million the other year. $260 million. Yet, each and every home in Uganda, most homes have a plant of coffee.
Yes.
Now, here the man in Texas has only 7,000 acres of aloe vera. And the man is earning $445 billion. What does this mean to a country like Uganda with fertile land where we tried aloe vera and it is giving us more kilos? President gave me a directive. These guys are playing me, but it's okay. You guys, you are playing on a nation and you are laying your youth to penetrate into what? Money economy. Now, as I'm telling you, President gave me a directive, written directive, but these guys are playing me. So the nation should know it is not about President Museveni. His boys in offices are playing funny games, which you cannot believe. I will not say I know all of them, but I would like to thank Honorable Kasaija. He embraced the project and he was pushing it so quickly because he's a farmer. To see that this thing, he said, Kaziwe, you don't know what you're talking about. I even made Honorable Kasaija to call one of my agents who planted aloe vera long ago, and he said, Mr. Honorable, I'm in Kibale, but Mr. Kaziwe gave us aloe vera plants, but you know, he has been prolonging for the factory. President gave us, you know, he was like, okay, what do we need for Uganda to earn like forever is earning? I said, give us a factory. We shall have the seedlings from Texas. We have also farmers here, around 300 farmers all over the country. They are there. They are watching. They know. They have the Barbadensis mirror I brought in 2007.
Yes.
But the president said, okay, let's have a factory like they are doing in Tungam for processing our coffee, so that we have it ready on market. Like what Forever is doing, we can do it in Gomba, in Uganda. But the guys played me, and why I'm passing this on our national TV is that people should now stop blaming President Museveni. We should blame the technocrats in offices. Why I would say this on television, and I said it clearly, that Honorable Kasaija, when I met him the first time, the guy said, we didn't know each other. He said, Kaziwe, this is so beautiful. I said, this will reduce on border consumption in our town. Why we have this heat is because of the two-stroke engine that are not supposed to be in our towns by borders. Actually,
and indeed, I actually want to ask you on the climate question, but before we even get there, you've talked a lot about value addition. And I wanted to really also understand your value addition processes on your own farm.
My farm.
Yes.
Now, as you've seen the silage making machine, since we have now gone 300, you see that machine, we have now gone 100 acres of Guatemala. So the process is ongoing. There I was showing my boys how to use the machine. You can see my photo. And now we want to start bale the feed, because our brothers in Nairobi, in Kenya, I have a friend in Eldoret, who has 912 cows. He has already engaged with our farm. He said, okay, he visited and he said, Kaziwe, I am #1 client of your farm. So we are going to bale it. As you can see, we are not going to use the ordinary silage covering stuff. We are going to bale it and send maybe by trailers to Nairobi. And also our farmers here, sometimes even the president himself suffers with drought. He loses animals. So these are my clients. They are already, we have clients already in Uganda and outside Uganda. Yes.
And how do you cope with issues of climate challenges?
Climate challenges, for now, between now and maybe 3 years, we have no option other than using what is there. For example, we made some good dams in our farm. We do irrigation. I think they could show you. We do irrigation in our farm. Everywhere where we have planted, even Guatemala, we do irrigation. But I would emphasize my fellow Ugandans that if we need to maintain, because it's not about me or you, it's about Uganda, let's keep planting trees. Actually, my foundation, we are going to start giving out trees. We started with giving coffee seedlings, and now we are going to give out trees to those who have taken coffee. You know, Musizi tree grows very well in coffee plantation. So we have a lot of Musizi tree, more than 50,000. We encourage other Ugandans also to plant Musizi tree as much as possible. The advantage of it, a bird would drop a seed from Musizi tree, and for example, if you are in UBC city center, it can pick it from here until up to Mukono
And disperse it there.
Yeah, and then that one will go all over the country. So we emphasize our people to go by with Mrs. Tree.
Now, there's a lot of commentary for you, and it can't go without being engaged by you. Can I get the contact of engineer? He will be sharing it. Good morning. I'm watching from Kaberamaido Technical Institute. I would like to visit that farmer. I'm impressed. This is Solomon Ikol. And good morning, Uganda. I agree with what my brother Moses is talking about. Service delivery is nowadays becoming more political. The major problem is our local leaders. The major challenge is our local leaders and not the president. The shortest way to break the poverty is agriculture. I want to get in touch with Moses. This is a right Peter from Ngora New. And thanks, presenter, for the show. This is Reverend Obo Ronald from Tororo. I'm interested in growing cocoa. How can we access the seedlings? Good morning. I'm Emutu Joseph, following you from Soroti. I want to thank MK for that great job. It has inspired me. Please share the telephone number. Quite a number of you are indeed looking forward to having his contact. Yes, Engineer Kazibwe, I've liked your mindset and advice. The problem we have is lack of role models in practical agriculture. He's here. A minister who has no farm can convince someone to become a farmer. To you, as a practical farmer, your advice is hands-on. That is from Julius Odeke from Tororo. And one last one, you have inspired me. We shall sincerely look for your farm. I'm watching UBC right now. Thank you so much for being on the show. Now, Engineer, yes, what are your hopes for agriculture in Uganda's future?
One, as I said it earlier, that if you see a man like Dangote trying to give out seedlings and then earn something on top of the billions of dollars he has, agriculture is the way to go. We as Ugandans, maybe we need to open up. Like, for example, if you have a piece of land somewhere, like the president is saying the 4-acre model, you know 4 acres is a lot of land.
It's a lot.
But if I have my 4 acres, for example, where Matoke grows very well,
yes,
we have a lot of issues of banana wilt in Masaka. I would emphasize the people of Masaka to visit my farm in Igomba. I will not say a lot here on this television because our scientists, some of them are corrupt by the whites to try to kill our ordinary plants, and then we suffer with their modified plants. So if you are in Masaka, you know we used to get a lot of matoke from Masaka corridor. When you go to Mbarara, Lyantonde, and then Busheng, and then Isingiro. People of Isingiro have lost a lot of their banana farms.
True.
Please, you will need to visit my farm in Impenja, Gomba, and see the techniques that we use to protect our crops. As I said earlier, that the next richest person in the world will come from the farm, even if he's from America, from where. Like in December, I was in London. I looked at the things they are selling in their supermarkets, and I was so shocked. You know, the Goa sugarcane that we grow here in Uganda. 2 piece is costing £2, which is 8,000 Uganda shillings. And then the white eggplants are also very expensive. I would also encourage our people here, if there's a way those who travels a lot, I'm now trying to start with wheat as well. Wheat, since now these countries where they grow wheat at a large scale are fighting, we can also grow some for our home consumption. Maybe we can sell to Kenya, Tanzania. Do you know wheat is consumed all over the world? Every country you go to, you'll find a bread. Not only Uganda, every country in the world.
Actually, you know, you talk about having things like sugarcane in the UK, selling to the equation of 8,000 Uganda shillings.
Yeah, two pieces. Yes.
Two pieces.
Enyingo,
yes. And the campaign right now, the gospel right now in Uganda is Bubu. And unfortunately, by Uganda, build Uganda. That means we are trying to have products started from here, sell to fellow Ugandans so that we reduce on the importation, but export more. Unfortunately, most Ugandans are still going for imported products than our homegrown products.
Yeah, like
yet the challenge most times is Ugandan homegrown products are more expensive than those that are imported.
No, it's not like that. You know, earlier on we never had experience, we never had knowledge. But now with the leadership of President Museveni, I praise that man and maybe Traore Ibrahim, only the two in Africa. We are being actually enlightened to see. We're blind, we're not seeing, but now you see, like here in Kampala, you can find an irrigation system of solar at a cheaper price. Or when you go on the internet, you find it elsewhere if you can't find it in Uganda. Now, what I would emphasize to all our people in Uganda, you are not meant to be poor. Don't lament this on government. Even me, I would like to sleep in Nakasero or Entebbe as a president and being driven in this road alone. But even you yourself, who doesn't want to sit in that chair? But now, what vision? If you become a president, what are you going to add on our people? I give an example now. Even if we change the government overnight and say, okay, Kaziwe is the president of the Republic of Uganda, you think these things are going to change overnight? You know, our parents in Uganda have forgotten one thing, that all things we do in life has a process. Where President Museveni found this country, UBC had no storage building like this. True?
True.
Now, things must go by processing. Like how you got married to your husband. It's a process. After your school, maybe you met him somewhere and then you took coffee and then you agree, or you agree on terms on how to be with this man. So all things must have a right followed process. If you don't have the processing in your life, then you have nothing. You know, after I made some money from construction business, I went back to farming because God showed me that land doesn't expand. That is why some people here are now telling the nation that, you see, land. But for you to own land in Uganda, the process is very clear. And as I was 23, 24, 25, my first 1 million shilling, I bought land of worth 700,000. Because it was in my mind that in one time, even during Museveni's leadership, land will increase in terms of price values. Now, when you go to our village in Madu there is a time I bought 400 acres at 50 million. Can you believe today? I can get 5 billion out of this land. So, land doesn't expand, but people increase in numbers. So what does this mean? If you sell your land today, then don't lament tomorrow. Because the reason why you wanted money that day was solved. Maybe you wanted to pay school fees and somebody lied you that by a child going to Makerere University, he or she will change your future. And I would emphasize to Mama Janet, the Minister for Education, let us have more technical institutes than universities. Why? If you go to China, long time ago, I was the first Ugandan to brought a rapid test kit for HIV when I realized that HIV, anyway, I've done a lot. You know, I was so brilliant, a lot. Glory HIV test kit and malaria, hepatitis A and B to this market. So, I also crossed to Rwanda. They were all shocked. Hey, what is this HIV test kit? Oh my God, first time to see it. Now, the guys who started manufacturing the HIV test kits was called USA Biomed were my partners. So, because America, cost of labor is high, they had to cross to China. China, why is it beating all of us, including America? They do copy-paste. Now, what they did, the guys who never knew even English are the ones working in the factory. Then they set one man in the factory who understands the language these people are using. So the other ones are Chinese, not even university people, students or what, but they understand what their friend is telling them, trying to explain in their Chinese language. These ones are talking, he pretends he doesn't know what? English. Now, in the end of it, They did the copy-paste. Now China is the leading manufacturer. Why I'm giving this example, I want Ugandans also to wake up. They are the leading manufacturers of rapid test kits all over the world for all diseases. Are you getting this?
Yes.
Now, let's wake up. We go back on the round table. It's not too late. It's never late. Let's wake up, utilize the small land we have. Even if you grow cabbage today, but I need the Export Promotion Board. I think it is the one that is promoting our Ugandan produce and all that, to be given enough money if they don't have. If they have, it's so bad. If they don't have, I mean, if they have and do not utilize it in the manner it is supposed to be. For example, cabbage of Uganda can be sold all over Africa because it takes some time to die. Why am I advising these guys to do this? Because now people want an earning, even if it's 10,000 a day from the garden. You would find this Kampala uncrowded. People will be busy doing something in their villages. So we emphasize our leaders also we emphasize our leaders also to plan for the nation by empowering these people, not by giving money, but knowledge. You know, knowledge is more important.
Power, yes.
Whoever wants to visit, to have some knowledge about whatever we've spoken here, you can always visit us in MK Mixed Farm. It is just on 75 kilometers. Those who knows Gombe, the old school, secondary school, doesn't matter you're coming from Kitugu, because some people leave Uganda to go to Qatar for jobs.
I notice a number of them are asking for your contact. Are you free to do that?
My number is too busy, but let them share their numbers with you. You will forward the numbers to me.
No problem. We'll do exactly that. Thank you so much, Engineer Moses. It's been such a profound conversation. Your comments are really, really many, but indeed, as he has requested, we'll forward your numbers to him. He'll be able to get in touch. Once again, we've been celebrated the unsung heroes, and that is Uganda's local farmer on this Labor Day. Happy Labor Day, Uganda. Good morning.
In all these years, we emphasize two words: wealth and jobs. And we try to waken our people up to show them where wealth and jobs come from.
The Parish Development Model, PDM, is a bold initiative that is reshaping Uganda's rural economy. By allocating 100 million shillings to each parish annually, PDM
Buza Kamiso now, enhancing tax education and bringing it closer to the taxpayers. Many Ugandans have questions about the taxes they pay to URA.
When we come at revenue,